And we're going to start off actually with Matt, who's a Leicester fan, who says that Harry Maguire peaked with you. Certainly a good player at Leicester. We spent £80 million for him. What's your thought on the situation with Maguire, Matt?
Well, thank you very much for having me on, first of all. And yeah, you're absolutely right. We saw the best and the worst with Maguire. Now, Maguire is brilliant when you play with a low defensive line and the game's in front of him. He can see everything. He can play on the front foot. He can intercept and bring the ball forward with feet. However, when Puel left and Rodgers came in, we moved the defensive line up about 10, 15 yards, and he was so hopelessly exposed playing on the turn. And that's where most of his problems come. What I can't understand is why Solskjaer find a player wanting to play further up the pitch with the defensive line but can't play on the turn. That transfer should never have happened. He's been hideously exposed. The irony of it is that with England, one of the very few teams in the whole of world football that still play with a low defensive line, who try and progress it through the lines from the back at the minute. I mean, the worrying thing for Maguire is that is the way that football's going, playing with a high line, compressing the space, and then trying to get, the counter-press going. My question is, which team would even suit him going forward now?
Well, I think great point, Matt. I'm going to come back to you on that one, but I just want to acknowledge the fact that, you're right. I think with Maguire, he's still England's centre-back, and it's very similar to what happened with David De Gea, although David De Gea actually delivered for Manchester United. It's arguable that Maguire has, but David De Gea, very, very good goalkeeper, but not a modern goalkeeper anymore. You've got to play with your feet. You've got to be out your box, and David De Gea was never comfortable with that. And certainly you're right with Harry Maguire at Manchester United. If you see him in a one-on-one on the halfway line, you're terrified. He's not quick. He's not good on the turn. And it's a real weakness for a manager and any team that wants to play a higher line. West Ham, Matt, are apparently in for him. We've seen Moyes is a bit of a defensive coach, probably more of a deeper line. I think that's a good fit for him. But I think the problem is Maguire's on very good money at Man United and might think he's above West Ham.
Well, it depends what he wants out of his career, isn't it? I mean, he can be another Phil Jones, or he can go to a club that's, is going to be somewhere in the mix each year in the Premier League, I think, for the next 5-10 years. And what the thing that what you don't realise is not you, I mean just generically you, is when you're at Leicester and you're Harry Maguire, the Leicester fans, because we're not supposed to be where we were, we appreciate the 5 out of 10 games that he's brilliant, and the other 5 aren't the ones we notice. When you go to a Man U or a Liverpool, it's the other 5 that get noticed because of the expectancy of quality. What he can do is go to West Ham. The media is not going to be on him so much. Hopefully he can keep his England career going with a little bit of competition with lads like Colwill that are coming through, and just let him play football without that level of inspection. Because, I mean, I can't imagine doing my job with people watching me, with it being dissected on social media and pundits and on YouTube every single week. It's got to be hard. He's got to think of what's best for him. And certainly that isn't staying at Man U at this point.
Fantastic call, Matt. Thank you very much for calling in. There's a lot of people waiting, but I just want to say I can. Football is football, isn't it? And I think it's really frustrating when you look at it because you don't want to be overanalyzing a player constantly all the time. I mean, even at Man United last season, I don't know why, but most press conferences for Erik Ten Hag last year, he's getting a question about Harry Maguire, who everybody knows is not good enough, but you're being asked about him all the time. And I think this is really frustrating. And you've got to question not necessarily the motivation of Harry Maguire, but the people around him. What are they saying to him? Because everybody knows that he's still England's centre-back and the Euros are coming up. But everybody knows he's 5th choice centre-back at Manchester United. So why aren't people saying to him, look, the next thing to go, you've lost your captaincy. The next thing to go is your England spot. And then where are you? Sat on the bench, earning 200 grand a week, but you're nowhere. You're 30 years of age. You're going to be 31 next year. The Euros come. Southgate will probably take you in the squad, but you won't ever get a game again. You're clinging on to the last thing that's relevant in your career, which is the England place. If you want to keep that, don't turn your nose down at West Ham. You've got to be banging on the door tomorrow to Erik Ten Hag and saying, I want to go to West Ham. I want to go to West Ham. I want to play. Because West Ham's style of play suits Harry Maguire. West Ham are in Europe. West Ham will have a better season next season. He will make West Ham better. And, he might be able to take his mate Scott McTominay with him, who will also do a good job there. You'll play first team football. You'll play every week. You won't lose your England place. And you'll be playing football. And it's really frustrating because as a Man United fan, Matt's absolutely spot on as a Leicester fan. He's never settled at Man United. He's never really grabbed the opportunity. And there's a number of reasons for that. But the opportunity is right there in front of him. And it's amazing that he'd think, I'm happy at Man United, I want to stay, because the next thing to go will be the England place, and he'll only have himself to blame. Let's go to Lee. Funnily enough, Lee's just saying it might be really difficult to get rid of Maguire. Yeah, tell us, Lee, what are your thoughts on that? I suppose that's the next step and how you do it.
Yeah, hi Mark. Thanks for having me on. My point was probably similar to what the Leicester fan had, and also like you said there, we've got the same problem. We will have the same problem with Harry Maguire as I imagine we're having with a lot of our players, and I've had is that we've took them on inflated wages, and it's just difficult now to get rid of him. Look at Phil Jones, you just sat there. There was no one going to pay his wages, and anyone in the right mind isn't going to take less. Yeah. At the end of the day, we all would love a place in the England squad and the United team, but at the end of the day, money talks. As it's shown with players who are still probably in the prime of the career now, we're all going over to Saudi Arabia. So, well, yeah, like I say, with us getting into Champions League now as well, I imagine I've heard Harry Maguire's wages, you'll get a bonus, his wage, and a few other players will probably get a wage increase. So we'll struggle to get rid of a lot of our players, like Mark Goldbridge, players who probably have just been on the fringe in and out, injured all the time. So, yeah, we'll struggle to get rid of him, to be honest with you. Yeah, like I say, that's similar to what the guy said. Our type of play under Ten Hag has completely changed compared to when we did take Harry Maguire in. So, yeah, he probably is surplus to requirements, but, yeah.
Lee, fantastic call, and a great point about wages. I mean, how sad is it that in the modern game, and Man United have got to look at themselves here, the contract they gave him, I think it was a 6+1. 200 grand a week from Leicester as well. I mean, you're not buying Sergio Ramos. And how ridiculous is it that ultimately a player might sit on the bench, lose their England spot, lose the captaincy, fifth choice centre-back, fourth choice centre-back, whatever, waiting for injuries to better players, but earning 200 grand a week. What's wrong with football? I want to talk about Saudi Arabia a little bit later in the show, Jordan Henderson, Fabinho, and the impact that's going to have on football, whether it's right or wrong. But we have this at United, and maybe have it at other clubs as well. Players who will just sit there on the bench. As a kid, you want to play football. You want to play at Wembley. You want to play for Man United. You want to play for Liverpool. There's people now who will just sit there and earn a wage when you can see it's not the best thing for them. Incredible.